morning, and after that very exciting session this morning about the idea of India and belonging, we are here very ambitiously going to discuss the Indian literary scenario in the 21st century. Right? That's our topic. That's the topic we've been given. I'm not sure where to begin because the Indian literary scenario is sort of, this is actually a good moment to just request all of you to put your cell phones on silent mode, please. Thank you. So the Indian literary scenario is in any case so vast, just as the Indian identities are. Not sure where to begin, but today specifically we have been told to discuss publishing. I think maybe we could just start with looking at what has changed in the last last decade. What has happened in publishing? I mean, in the world outside of India, there has been some kind of a squeeze in the publishing industry. There are some books which make lots of money, but overall there are less books being published in print. It's more the e-books and the kind of electronic books and web reading that has really taken off. But that perhaps is not what is happening in India. India has seen huge growth in publishing in the last 10 years. A lot of new publishing houses have come up doing excellent work. Niche publishing houses focusing on identities, focusing on language, focusing on regions. So a lot of very exciting activity has happened in Indian publishing in the last decade or so. So maybe we could start from there and then see where it takes us. Could I ask Nirmala to start?
So taking cue from what Ankara just now said, yes, it is a fact globally that just as some 20 years back it was being discussed that internet is a threat to book reading. Similarly, now it is being discussed that perhaps e-book is a threat to the conventional book that we are accustomed to. But then these are good questions, and we did not unnecessarily be detained by such questions. We did not concentrate much on this because in our country, of course, it is true that there is a very vibrant publishing scenario. Books are coming out, a dime a dozen, and a lot of new writers are coming up, a lot of new publishers are also coming up. And because of the sheer number of our population and the fact that every year a new crop of readers are coming up because of neo-literacy, adult literacy and all these things. So there is a constant growth of readership also. If you just have a look at the glossy magazines which are coming out from in different languages of our country, I think you will be to a certain extent convinced by my argument, because a number of the market is being flooded by a lot of glossy magazines, a lot of small news everywhere in India. So on that count, I am not particularly bothered. So far as literature is the focus, so far as literary publishing is concerned, apart from the real, the run of speculative thought, I would like to point out a particular fact that certainly there is a tremendous emphasis on translation. Now, perhaps this has got something to do with what the Western countries are thinking about us. I don't know the exact, whether what I'm going to say will be particularly borne by everybody's conviction. But I think that after this, after this tremendous impact that Indian English fiction did on the international level, perhaps a time came when a lot of people, the players and stakeholders abroad, particularly in the English-speaking West, and by English-speaking West I mean UK, USA, New Zealand, Australia, and part of Canada, perhaps some smart people started thinking that if Indians are capable of churning out such wonderful literature in a language which is alien to them, they might be doing much better literature in their own languages. But thinking so, I find suddenly multinational publishing houses are actually scouting for good literature in our regional languages, and a lot of translations are coming up. Right today, the interest in translation publishing, which you see amongst the multinational publishing houses, I'm talking of big publishing houses, small publishing houses, niche publishing houses, have been publishing translations all through, literary translations, all through because of a kind of love for the books and because of kind of sense of commitment on their part that our regional language books should have a platform in a national and international level. But the many big publishing houses today are scouting a lot for translations, and that is why we find the market is to a certain extent flooded by a lot of translation books. If I concentrate only on my mother tongue, the kind of translations from Bengali into English which have been published in the last 10 years, perhaps was not published 50 years, from 10 years to 15 years before. So this is the part of activity. This is one thing. Another is a very interesting thing is a kind of feminist publishing. A number of publishing houses are publishing books on women, by women, about the plight of women, about feminist outlook, what is happening in the country, gender bias. She mentioned identity. So this kind of, like say Zuban is there, we have Women Unlimited, we have Stree, and many other such publishing houses. This is the second trend in India, so far as publishing is concerned, literary publishing is concerned, which is interesting. This is how we came across such revolutionary books from, say, a baby Halder, a maid servant in a Delhi household, who has come up with an autobiography, and it has been published in English, Hindi, and other Indian languages. That is how we have come across Bama, we have come across many other writers, both Dalit and others. And so translation, feminist writing, and a renewed interest in mythology. It is quite interesting that in this literary festival, we have two sessions. One is Mahabharata Revisited, another is Ramayana Revisited. And a lot of books are being written, not just criticism, and not just books on analysis or discussion, but creative writing. In Bengali, a number of plays have been written, taking off from Ramayana. In Hindi, we have right from Angayu of Dharambarati till today. And then in English now, a number of books, Jagdasani by Pratibha Rai, then the Missing Princess by Sangeeta Arni. And these are the books which make interesting reading and which are a kind of epic revisited from a very modern perspective. So these are certain trends which I feel like pointing out at this point, and maybe Antara will take over from here.
Just trying to figure out if this mic works. Does it? Yeah, thanks very much, Nirmala. We are supposed to be discussing translation tomorrow, Indian literary scenario and translation. So perhaps we could discuss other things today, but of course, since you do translations yourself, maybe you could just talk about it a bit and then move on to other things. One thing, for example, I would be very curious to know is have you noticed how the quality of books, Indian books, has suddenly in the last decade changed? You know, now an Indian book actually can be placed anywhere in the world and not look out of place. Earlier, 20 years ago, that was not possible. When we in the Lit magazine started bringing out books and took it out outside of India, people looked at it and said, wow, this is published from India. But that doesn't happen anymore because now our quality of publishing has really gone up. So maybe that's something as a publisher you would want to do.
Thank you, Antara. I think the most noticeable change that has happened is that the number of writers writing for children has increased. And the the shift has become very contemporary in the sense that earlier, 10 years, 15 years ago, the focus was more on didactic writing, moralistic stories. But nowadays, we see that the children and the parents who are the key influencers to purchase a book are focusing more on books which have a contemporary theme. Now, interestingly, we have done a lot of translations, and mainly from Bengali, Hindi, and now Damodarji's book from Konkani. And there is the most perceptible change that has happened is that the buyers of books from which are translated are not just the original language speakers who possibly don't speak in their mother tongues now, but then we have been, most of the translations have sold across the main diasporic markets, which shows the kind of level of interest that one has and the way things are likely to move on. The other noticeable trend is that as publishers, we find that the reading spans, the reading habits of children have changed in the last 15-20 years. Today, what is happening is that a child is reading, he's reading much more than what he was earlier. But then they're reading very short. They have taken to digital like fish to water. So what will become critical in children's publishing is how do we adapt to this changing scenario, and what is the road ahead. Mythology definitely continues to be very popular because that is what parents want. But the point is that contemporary publishing, books of contemporary themes are also being written about. I think there are lots of publishers in the children's category who are focused on particular genres, and we have a completely new, I would say, range of authors who are doing fantastic job, and that is what is propelling the markets.
Thanks very much. How much time do we have? Because we started late and this is going to be a shorter session than planned, I assume. And 10 minutes we wind up or 10 minutes we go to the audience? 5 minutes we go to the audience. Okay, there you have it. So very quickly then, you think that, yeah, of course, shorter attention spans, that's something that we've always been talked about. We have been talking about, especially in the media, which is why our newspaper stories got shorter and shorter and shorter till they almost disappeared. But at the same time, the quality of publishing has really gone up. And how much of this is actually because of marketing? I mean, has there been a huge leap in marketing? Do you think marketing is much better than before, or are we selling rights abroad? Where is the money coming from?
I think the biggest challenge for children's publishing is the availability part of it. It takes us a while to ensure that our books are available at the right places. But then every problem has a solution, and I think what most of the children's publishers have done is to go out to where the market is, which is in terms of schools, participation in book fairs. So you may not find the entire range of books available in a conventional bookshop. I would think, that's a big problem, but the advantage we have is that internet has actually leveled the field for smaller players. So it is just a question of publicity, it's just a question of publicizing your book, which will help take care of this problem. But I think what is important is that the demand is growing. There's a huge latent demand. It depends on publishers on how to fulfill that. And the key challenge is just lies in making it available, the marketing part of it.
Okay, I just wanted to ask, since you've been involved with Sahitya Academy and National Book Trust, you've seen how the government handles marketing of literature, which of course many of us have a lot of questions about. But do you think there has been a change in the way that even government agencies are looking at literature, or do you think that is sort of untouchable and they just remain cloistered in their own happiness?
No, you had been there. You have asked a question. The most lamentable link in the public sector publishing is marketing. You know, and having worked into major public sectors, Sahitya Akademi and National Book Trust, I am quite hard put to defend that. But I'll come to the second part of your question first. Yeah, very quickly it is that there is a change. They are not cloistered in their own prison any longer, and the change is a kind of forced change, because the government of India is also telling these autonomous houses that you will have to generate your own revenue to a certain extent and don't depend on 100% budgeting forever. So as a result, now those days of recycling pages have gone. Now they are using better, textured papers. They are using better binding, and as a result, of course, inevitably is happening. The kind of price which they used to afford earlier, they are no longer affording that price, because some kind of costing has to be made. So the books of National Book Trust and Sahitya Akademi cost at least 30% higher than it used to be cost earlier. And that low price was once upon a time the chief attraction of that. So that way, it's a kind of balancing out somewhere.
Low price and low quality often go hand in hand. So that production level, editing is one area where I think publishing has a lot to catch up. Because we have excellent writers and we have excellent artists, and we now have publishers who can take a chance, and therefore we have many types of new books. There's a trend of graphic novels coming out. There's a lot of new things happening in publishing, but of course the one area that sort of remains very unsatisfactory is editing. Even big publishing houses have rather poor editors. So that's maybe something that we need to look at. I think I am supposed to now request questions from the audience. My friend Vivek is there. Would you please, yes, people seem to ask more questions to you than the rest of us.
In your little magazine, for example, which is an outstanding example of a quality magazine, what is your impression of the contributions that keep coming in now? What is the level of quality? Has it improved? And what is the volume like?
Well, I'm very grateful that you asked that question, and I must say we are very privileged to have you here with us today. The quality has always been, it varies. It depends. You have good writers and wannabe writers in every generation, and it changes. I think that doesn't change. What has changed, I think, is the level of confidence. Now, anybody who can put two lines together in English can actually imagine that he or she is a writer, which wouldn't have happened earlier. So that, I think, is what has changed. And therefore, they have the confidence to send things that otherwise they would just maybe show to a best friend, and they say, do you think I could improve on it? I think that expectation, the aspirations have gone up, expectations have gone up, and therefore that level of confidence has gone up, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it can be problematic as well. Yeah.
Yeah, my question to you is, we keep reading about writing.
Presented a very nice positive feedback of the publishing industry, going into a quantum stage in India. Now, alongside, I was wondering whether there is a need, new writers, etc. you mentioned. Is there a need, or is there a kind of demand going up for creating writing courses? Because that is an area that is practically non-existent, in India. And it's still in its somewhere, I see or noticed somewhere that it's like 2 days, 3 days, 4 days kind of workshop. No, not a really settled, consistent kind of creative writing course that is run by reputed institutions and others. Because if you're looking at writers, I would like to know about that.
You mean, is there a need for that? Or
Is there a felt need, or is it also
there a
going to
demand?
increase? Is there a demand, or is it even felt by people?
Yeah. Well, I think there is a demand, certainly. But frankly, you know, I don't know how useful that may be, because creative writing workshops only work when they are
No, that's
taken by, you know,
experienced people. I know
Yeah.
that. So that's precisely my point was. You know, I said that the workshops have their severe limitations. What I was talking about is a long-term course. You know, so that it becomes a discipline. You know, in some academic
Yes.
institutions,
Yes.
etc.
Yes.
I find that not really.
that's a very good idea. I don't think that has actually come up anywhere.
Goa University has introduced
Goa University has a creative writing course,
one paper.
a paper. Okay, and for how long? I mean, is it a 3-year course or
No, for the post-graduation.
post-graduation, one paper? Okay, so there you have it in Goa University. I haven't come across it elsewhere, but then I'm not very well informed in this area somehow. I should be. I don't know why.
Certain universities may have, but just like one paper, half paper kind of things, optional kind of things. But it's true, it has not been taken up very seriously there so far.
Yeah, but maybe that is something one can do now that everybody wants to be a writer. It does. IGNOU has a proper course. Okay. IGNOU has a proper course on creative writing. Yeah. Yeah. So, but as I said, I'm not quite sure how effective a creative writing course would actually be. It can hone writers who already have a writing talent, but people who imagine they have a talent don't necessarily always, you know.
It's true, cricket coaching classes as well.
Yeah.
University, the creative writing department. And several of our students have been published in more than one country at a time. So if you have the talent and you get the discipline,
We should probably wind up. Thank you very much for all your inputs and listening.
Thank you so much for that question. Every day